gotta be a change, man. Why we all can't change in the world for the better. Mine gotta get drawn. That's all facts, man. Vibe with me. Black versus white, but we all bleed the same. Your mind set the stage and it plays on your brain. Ignorance is bliss, nobody wants the truth till bodies start dropping that they wanna call the truth. What makes us different? The materials, we all created equal, so how are you imperial? How you better than me? I could be better than you. Now we go debate and start applying the Sun Tzu. The art of war, the art of fighting. The ones that started called the cops, now they indicting. Chaos ringing out and nobody answering. Everybody on their toes, strapped up and panicking. What's going on? It gotta be a change in the world. Why we all can't get along? At some point the line gotta get drawn. History repeating, what are we doing wrong? It gotta be a change in the world. Why we all can't get along? At some point the line gotta get drawn. History repeating, what are we doing wrong?
Hello everyone. How is everyone doing?
Great.
If we can get some more energy, how is everyone doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We would like to take the time on behalf of Quaker City Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta, and Tailor Made Opportunities to welcome you. Thank you for participating in the hearse parade that took place. We did have a motorcade that took place and started at E9 Tabernacle Church, and it is ending here at Overbrook High School. And we are officially starting our community rally. We just want to take the time to thank you for joining us. There's so many different things you could be doing, of course, with your time, but the purpose of today is to call to action, to put them Jawns down in reference to gun violence. The purpose of today is to bring awareness to the astronomical violence that has been going on, not only in Philadelphia, but crossing around from areas to areas. So it was fitting best that from the Social Action Committee from Delta Sigma Theta to do something about this. So our purpose today is to hit the ground and make change, and that change also takes place with you. So we could not do this without you. So we would like to welcome you here to the community rally, and we have some amazing speakers and artists and things that are prepared for you today. So we are hoping that you are ready. We would like to allow Mr. Pastor G. Lamar Stewart to come forth from Tailor Made Opportunities as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ditto to everything that my colleague said with regards to all of those who support. I just want to give a shout out to the Office of the Philadelphia Sheriff's Department, who assisted with escorting us throughout the city, and want to give kudos to, of course, the Philadelphia Police Department, specifically the 19th District, for the work that they did to assist us in getting here today. Let's celebrate them. There were a lot of partners connected to this. Of course, name was Quaker City, Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated. I want to also acknowledge the presence of Marie Wescott from the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association, and Reverend Will Martin from E9 Tabernacle Baptist Church, who's here on behalf of Dr. Alan E. Waller. So thank you all. We appreciate your support, and we're here today because, of course, we want to raise awareness around the issue of gun violence, but we also want to be reminded that there are families and there are communities that are impacted, that are grieving, that are hurting right now. And so as we hear from the speakers today, let's be respectful, let's be thoughtful, let's think about what we as an individual and we as a collective can do to continue to address this issue of gun violence, to put an end to this senseless issue of gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. So thank you so much, and we look forward to our program today.
So at this time, if we can have the 19th District to come forward and join us at this time. As they are coming to join us, we are going to be passing out. We do have a few white balloons, and I will allow them to speak a little bit further about the purpose of these balloons.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Harling of the 19th District. I stand in proxy of our captain, Captain Newell of the 19th District. We are so proud and so very grateful for everyone taking the time out to join in on this rally. You know, the community is the essential eyes and ears, and they do what we need. In order for us to get our job done, we need you all. I have here standing with me my Community Relations Officer, Officer Ayers, our Victim Assistance Officer, Officer Johnson, and our Crime Prevention Officer, Officer Torres. You know, it is said that my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. In order to be productive and be successful in stopping the gun violence around the city, is we have to participate. We have to know what's available to us. All three of these officers assist with things going on around in the community, whether you're a victim, whether you have just situations in your neighborhood that you need addressed that always doesn't entail a 911 call. You can always reach out to us at the district for that assistance from either one of any of these officers. Obviously, Community Relations Officer, Officer Ayers, she's going to just give us a little briefing on about the balloons.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Like she said, I'm Officer Ayers. I'm the Community Relations Officer here in the 19th District. And this year, I wanted to do something with the high schools called like a high school tour. But so much was going on with the school climate that we wanted to hold off to next year. But we'll use this day to kick that off, okay? And these balloons, a lot of time in our communities, whether it be a loved one, whether a friend, a loved one, a sibling, whatever it is that you have that you may have lost, a lot of times we go out and we release balloons for that. I wanted to use these balloons today and for our high school tour to release anything holding us back. Let's release that. These kids will write on balloons saying, you know, maybe it's procrastination, maybe it's bullying, whatever it is that's holding them back, anything that they have imperfections in, just to write those on those balloons and just let it go and let's move on. Let's kick off. And really today we want to encourage the youth that's out here today to help encourage their friends to put the guns down, put the Jawns down, because we're losing lives left and right. So I just want to hold these balloons in the air, everyone behind us, in your head, because we don't have our pens, we can't write on them. Think about something that's holding you back, something that it could be so small and it's just holding you back. Once you think of that, release that balloon and just hold on to that and make sure you let it go for real. So I'm gonna release now and put them Jawns down.
So at this time, if we can have, at this time, we are going to ask the principal of Overbrook High School to join us at this time, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Amina. And sorry if my voice is a little too loud. Even in auditorium of students, I don't use a microphone. But good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Johnson. I'm the proud principal of Overbrook High School. I am also a proud alum of Overbrook High School, class of 1989. Which is why Amina reached out to me, is because she's also alum of Overbrook High School. So we are definitely Panther proud. So I want to thank a whole lot of people, but I'm going to start off with thanking the Delta Sigma Theta Quaker City Alumni Chapter for reaching out and for understanding the importance of gun violence that is happening in our city. G. Lamar Stewart, all of the other partners that have partnered with us to be able to say, put those Jawns down. So with that being said, some of you may or may not know, Overbrook in itself has faced gun violence in this school year, 2022-2023. One day, I was actually at another school supporting another school leader, and everything seemed quiet. And it was a half day that day. And I said, okay, I told my team, I said, I'm going to make my way over to this school and I'm going to go support this leader. And as I'm sitting there, we're going over some paperwork, some administrative duties or tasks that we had to cover. I get a phone call, and on the other end of that call, one of my climate managers says to me, Dr. Johnson, 4 of our students just been shot. And I was so turned around and trying to get back. It was literally, it's like a 15-minute drive, but I could not get my bearings together to get back because I was just so shocked. I just never thought it would happen to us. I never thought that it would be one of my students, two of my students, let alone four of my students who are walking home from school and get shot. And so what people don't know in regards to what happens in schools is my team, they didn't run away from the gunfire. They ran towards the gunfire. And they did so to save our babies, our children. And so what people have to know is that in this city, across this country, we need all hands on deck to save our young people. They don't know what they don't know. And we as the adults are responsible for stepping up and stepping in and say, put those Jawns down. Enough is enough. And we have to work with our young parents who have children who may not understand the task and what it takes to be a parent. We have to go back into our schools. I always tell people, you know, I graduated in class in 1989. And all the classes in the early 2000s at Overbrook High School, they don't know that Overbrook has changed a whole lot. When I went here, it was 2,500 students in this building. We were on all 5 floors. Right now, we're on 3 floors, and we fluctuate between 400 and 500 students. And it's a different type of student. We're a different type of district. But that does not mean that they're all our children. They're all our responsibility. So with that being said, I just want you all to know how important this rally is. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday. We have a lot of partners that work with us. We have Dr. Allen from Overbrook West Neighbors. People don't know he give out turkeys every single year. He give us anything that we need for our families. We have the 19th district who's out here with us every single day. We as school leaders, we as administrators and teachers, we don't stand outside with bulletproof vests. We stand outside with a walkie and eyes. And all we say is go straight home, be safe, and the expectation is that people are partnering with us to make sure that our kids are safe. So we have to put minds together, get the right people at the table to have those courageous conversations, because sometimes we feel like we need to point the finger. It's not about pointing a finger. We have to say it's everybody's responsibility, and we're all going to step up. So again, thank you to Quaker City Delta Alumni Chapter for bringing this to Overbrook High School. Thank you, G. Lamar. Thank you to funeral directors that are all out here that's making us and see how serious it is. That if we don't get our young people off the street, we're going to be motivating young people, 14, 15-year-old students that I went to many funerals, held many mothers in my arms who looked me in my eyes and say, Dr. Johnson, I tried. And so we all have to work together. So I have a number of leaders across the city who's being faced with a lot of the same turmoil that are happening in school, out of school. And this afternoon, we have our CASA president. So principals and school climate leaders throughout the city that really focus on our young people. Is led by our president, Dr. Robin Cooper, and I just asked her to come up here and speak on behalf of the rest of the leaders throughout the city of Philadelphia and the school district of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We have to have some energy, because we have to have a lot of energy in order to fight what we are currently going through now. I am Dr. Robin Cooper. I am the proud president of Teamsters Local 502. Most people know it as CASA, the Commonwealth Association of School Administrators. We represent principals, assistant principals, climate managers, early childhood directors, special education directors, any first level administrator, hearing officer in the school district of Philadelphia. Gun violence is so important, especially for the office that I hold, because of the mere fact, what people don't realize is that when a gun reaches the safe havens of a schoolyard, the immediate area, the neighborhood surrounding the school, what happens is the school gets the blame. Let me repeat that. Everybody descends upon the school, and the school leader gets the blame. Now, I just heard Dr. Lee Johnson say that everybody, all staff members run towards the gun violence to make sure their children are safe. But when it's portrayed on the news, oftentimes it's the school, or it's always somebody talking about everything that's going on at the school level. I make certain that we show up to be a support to the school because we know what they're going to go through. We want to make sure that anybody that's descending upon the school when there's gun violence, that you're not coming to look, that you're not coming to disrupt a lockdown, because oftentimes folks come to yank their children out after the fact, but when the school is locked down, inside the school is the safest place for the child to be because the experts are now there dealing with the crisis. It's going to take all of us. We have had gun violence rallies. We have walked the communities. We have descended upon 440. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take principals, teachers, parents, community, business leaders. It's going to take all of us, city officials. It's not one person to blame. We are all collectively the blame. If we're not asking questions about what children have in their bedrooms, if we're not asking questions about the issues that they have, I need you to remember this. Our children, some of them left for a pandemic. So if they left it as 9th grade students, they came back as 11th grade students, but they still had a 9th grade mentality. Do I need to say that again? So what we fight for are those social, emotional resources, because in 2 years of sitting at home, the teachers did the best they could across a screen. But there were a lot of social media wars, there were a lot of calling out things, there were a lot of wait till we get back to school, and what we're seeing is the aftermath of all of that. So in September, it's nice, and I'm not trying to disrespect any school system. It's nice to say as soon as they hit the door in September after the pandemic, we're going to do reading and math. But September should have been dedicated to all social emotional learning and conflict resolution and peer mediation, because they missed that in 2 years. They didn't have the counselors, the therapists, the one-on-ones. What did we expect, Philadelphia? So if we want the children to put these Jawns down, then we have to do right by our children. First and foremost, before any teaching and learning, is the safety. Safety is always first. If we skip over the safety, there won't be any teaching and learning. So we really need to put the Jawns down. I am closing out. I would really like to give thanks to my sorors, ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Quaker City, also tailor-made. And I do want to give acknowledgement to a board member who is here, Cecilia Thompson, who is always an advocate for our children. We must tell them to put the Jawns down.
So at this time, if we can please have Soror State Representative Morgan Cephas to come as well. And my understanding, it might be some people from Curtis Jones' office as well.
I'll give him a shot.
As well.
So good afternoon, sorors. Good afternoon, everybody. So listen, I'm gonna take the liberty to do the So first and foremost, I'm again State Representative Morgan Cephas, and I have the distinct pleasure of representing the 192nd where we are today. I did not have an opportunity to get an acceptance letter in Overbrook High School, but I know so many of my family are alumni, and it truly holds a special place in my heart. Because before I ran for office, there was a young gentleman by the name of Bernard Scott, and I don't think you weren't principal at the time. And right when I was running for office, we immediately got a call because someone had been gunned down at Tustin Recreation Center while he was just hanging out. And this young man was in the 9th grade at the time. And when I think about what our young people are dealing with, not just him several years ago, but how many young people Overbrook High School lost during the pandemic to gun violence. How many young people are still impacted by the gun violence that just happened a couple of weeks ago with those 4 students. We have to remind them that this is not their reality and this is not their future in the city of Philadelphia. Just this past weekend, we watched thousands of young students go down to the Mann Music Center for an HBCU day, where they were able to, learn about HBCUs, learn about the Divine Nine, learn about different programs that are available to them. That should be their future in the city of Philadelphia. So when they say all hands on deck, we must have everyone at the table solving these challenges. From our coaches, from our churches, from our local police districts, and most importantly, we must have legislators at the table that are willing to do the heavy lifting that we need for our students to put those Jawns down. Because we can't just talk about them putting it down, we also have to talk about how are they getting them? How are they flooding our community? How are they so readily available that you are able to, in this community, get your hands on a gun versus an actual apple or a fruit or a book? The fact that it is so close to them versus the other resources that they need to thrive in the community is devastating. So we must do our jobs up in Harrisburg and down in City Hall. And I really want to thank my sorors for coming up to Harrisburg. It's always the greatest thing when, my colleagues from, York County, Erie County, they look at us and say, who are all these ladies in red? What is it that they do? And we had thousands of our sorors come up to Harrisburg to advocate for one specific thing, and that is to address the issue of gun violence. That is to put more resources into our communities that have been devastated from disinvestment, which is, one of the reasons why we are seeing so many of these challenges. But most importantly, they asked for gun safety laws to be put on the books. And for the very first time since I was elected, we will be voting on gun violence bills on Monday as a direct result of what you are doing here today. So I know we may get weary every time we wake up and open that newspaper or we watch the media about another young kid losing their life to gun violence, but know that your work doesn't go in vain. Know that we are able to advocate for cities like the city of Philadelphia, but also cities like Pittsburgh. We are not the only ones going through this crisis. This is a crisis across the nations. Ours just happen to be homicides, but in our rural and suburban areas, you see gun violence as it relates to suicides. You see gun violence as it relates to domestic violence. We have a gun violence crisis across this country, and we must do all that we can to address that issue. But again, we're not going to be able to do it alone. It is going to be these type of settings, these type of gatherings, these type of partnerships where we have to come together to raise our voices, to elevate the conversation, to ask our electeds, ask our social leaders to get something done now. And now is that moment. Now we are in an environment where the entire nation is looking at potentially losing a generation because we are not correcting the issue. So again, I thank you. When Amina first talked to me about a hearse parade, I kind of had to ask, well, what do you mean a hearse parade? But it's a phenomenal idea because every single hearse, every single funeral owner, we are reminded that it's not just that young person that's losing their life. It's the family that's impacted. It's the community that are impacted. It is their peers that are impacted by every single hearse that we see. So again, this is a tireless fight. It's a thankless fight, but we got to do it for our families. We got to do it for our babies, and we have to do it for our community. So again, thank you. Keep on fighting, and we'll make sure we turn the tide into the right direction. Thank you.
At this time, we are going to have representation from the Philadelphia Masjid. At this time, we will have words from Imam Kenneth Noordin.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to really be an advocate for the youth. But I was late I couldn't join the procession because I had a funeral to do at 12 o'clock for a young man who was shot and killed right at Lancaster and Preston this week. And again, that's the reality that all of us, especially the funeral directors, face on a regular basis. But remember, the Jawns is just a sign because we have police officers who have Jawns, but they have them to serve and protect. And we know what their purpose is. I'm a veteran, I was in Vietnam, so I know I had a Jawn that I needed. So Jawns are a sign, and when we see a Jawn, we have to see what is it connected to. Most of the youth, and I would like to say what Dr. Johnson said, these are a different type of youth today. We can see the Jawn in their pocket, and the doctor can see a sign in us. But what they see doesn't always comport with what the reality is. They may see your eyes are red and think you've been drinking, but you may have high blood pressure. What we have to do with our youth is check their symptoms. Speak to them and see how they are feeling, and not just write a prescription for them when they come to us, because we see certain signs and we don't have the time to be in an exchange with them so that we can know, well, why do you have that gun with you? And just begin to establish a relationship. All of us have to see ourselves like barefoot doctors. But we have to go back among our youth. And if we know there is a pandemic among them that can affect each and every one of us, then we have to begin to have an exchange with them and ask them. Because many times when you ask them, you can find out just what it is that is a chronic condition. When they shoot somebody, it's an acute problem that we have to deal with. But there are chronic conditions that produce a mentality, that produce a spirit, whereby they feel they would rather have the Jawn on them than leave it at home. And that's a reality for many of them. And it's going to take from each and every one of us some intervention in their behalf. And that means that wherever you see youth, they are different. But in reality, they are not different. They are like us. And so let us commit ourselves to not just look at the acute condition or the acute problem, but see a chronic condition that is festering and producing a certain spirit and a certain mentality in our youth. It's a reality that is not going to go away, but at the same time, it's a solution that all of us can be a part of. And so on behalf of the funeral directors who are here, I'm certain that they know that all of us are going to die, so they're not going to go out of business. But they don't like to have to sew bodies together so that they can be presentable for families. If we're going to die, let us die for something that is worthwhile. And let us live for something that is worthwhile. Because remember this, as I generally say to the youth, and I spoke to over 100 of them this afternoon, I told them that all of you are on death row. You can die anytime. But you're also doing life. So let us do life in a manner that's pleasing to God and not let life do us. And if that is our mantra, then we can't let the youth do us. We have to take our position seriously, and we are like doctors. You know what the signs are, but you have to find out from the patient what is his symptom. Why are you feeling this way? Why are you doing this? And it may be something as simple, they may be hungry. And the only way they can eat that day is go get a gun and go do something. And I'm sure the police can verify that much of what drives our youth is the condition that they're in. It's a chronic problem, and it's a long-term solution, but there are some short-term solutions that we can all come to, and that is if we can just get them to put the Jawn down. And if they want to carry a gun, take the exam for the police department and join the police. Because the gun is to serve and protect, and is not to destroy. It's a weapon of mass destruction in the hands of the wrong people. but in the hands of those who are honorable, it can serve and protect all of us. So remember, all of us are like barefoot doctors. So let us get back into the village and help our people.
At this time, we do have some more representation from the 19th district. We are going to be calling Captain Newport at this time to come forward. We can give him a round of applause.
She put me on the spot. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not going to belabor you. We know we got a crisis going on right now, and it's the youth that's driving all our crime. I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So what do I say? I say fight. Fight how, Captain Newport? Fight for your neighborhoods. Fight for the lives of these children. You know, we have these schools all around the city, and they need your support. They need your support because they see these kids firsthand. They know what the pain looks like when their friend gets killed by violence. The imam alluded to the young man's funeral he went to today. Well, a friend of his overdosed the next day, right? This is our reality, but it doesn't have to stay this way. As long as good people like you go back to where you came from and refuse to be told no. No about what? No to how you do in these schools, how the school district puts handcuffs on these principals and the staff. No to building things in our neighborhood that have no big like stop and goes in prison. No to the violence. Take everybody you know who has young people in their family and make sure you put your hands on them. Make sure you tell them you love them. Make sure you're there to support them through the good times and the bad. But nothing great gets done alone. That's why each and every one of us that's here today, that decide to come here today, make sure we do what it is that God called us to do. And that's protect one another, love one another, and support one another. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. So make sure that we're praying for one another, keeping each other strengthened, and let's make sure that we support the schools. I had a very spirited conversation this week with a principal of a school who shall remain nameless, Dr. Johnson. And she talked about how she needs more parents to come out to these school board meetings. Tell the school board what you need, what you don't want in your schools, what you do want in your schools, and refuse to be told no. They protest everything in front of that building. They protest in front of the building next door. However, you go out there and I'll be there with you. Because enough is enough. We cannot allow people to be disconcerned. We cannot allow people to not have any accountability. What has happened in our neighborhoods is a fight. Let nobody tell you any different. It is a fight. Everybody wants to come in our communities and tell us how to run them and then go away. But you're still here. Refuse to be told no. Fight. And when you're tired, get up and fight some more. Because to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a choice. There's nobody coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. And class after class, we're letting potential die out here on these streets. Not anymore. So to say today, make the call today, and decide today that you're going to be the reason why your neighborhood is safe. Thank you, and God bless.
At this time, we are going to have Soror Dr. R.G. Wilson to come forward at this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. We can do better than that. We're here for our babies. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so my name is Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. I am the co-founder of Faith Connects, which stands for Family and Individual Therapeutic Healing, with my husband, Morgan E. Wilson Jr. I'm also the co-founder of Connections Matter, where we focus on healing lives and transforming lives one courageous conversation at a time, as well as our nonprofit Mental Health First Connects, where we focus on education, awareness, assessment, advocacy, and equity, impacting the BIPOC community that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. We're providing mental health. So most of you all know me as a family therapist, a relationship therapist. But I can tell you for sure that now that I've been practicing for over 25 years, I can tell you that I've never seen someone, a mother or a father, get over the loss of their babies. I've never seen it. And this morning, we were in church, and Pastor Waller, our pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, he said that there's a word, right? If you lose your parent, you call them your orphan. If you lose your spouse, right? They call you a widow. There's no word for if you lose your child. There's no pain. Michelle knows that. There's no pain that can fill the deep hole in your heart when you lose your baby, because you don't expect to send your kid off to school and get a call that they not return home because of senseless gun violence. It has to stop. And I'm going to give you some statistics that you probably know already. 155 homicides to date here. 525 non-fatal shootings, 140 fatal shootings, 25 people per minute that are impacted due to domestic violence, 20 students shot this year. This year. So G. Lamar, what I call my little brother, my husband, we went to the school mathematics, civics, and sciences because there was a young man. His name was Selah. He was shot along with his friends, 4 other friends, 3 killed. There I met a young lady named Kayla. And Kayla said to me, Dr. Argy, I'm glad you all showed up. We showed up to do a healing circle, and we said we weren't going to stop. She said, I'm glad you showed up now. When I called her a couple of weeks later to ask her how she was doing, she said, you know what's sad? It feels like my friends have normalized the loss of our friends. Having your peers die in the street should not be normalized. That's not something that we should ever get used to, and our children should not have to deal with that. So all hands on deck, I heard that today. What does that mean? That means that if you see something, what? If you see something, what? If you see something, what? And if you say something, then you gotta do something, right? If you say something, you gotta do something, and you gotta let our kids know that we're not going away. We're not gonna stop. As the officer said, we gotta fight. We're in a fight to save our babies. And another thing that we talk about with regards to mental health, this is a complex issue. I've been doing mental health my entire life. Everyone who has a mental health issue does not engage in gun violence, right? We need treatment for mental health issues. And we need families, we need to gather around our arms around our families to let them know that we're here. However, this is the other thing I will know. If your baby is shot in the middle of the street, you will have a mental health issue. It's called depression. It's called grief. It's called loss. It's called anxiety. The mood dysregulation is up. I can tell you that there are 20 people who are impacted by domestic violence every single minute. And some of those they fall prey to gun violence. Because we've heard this saying, hurt people, what? Hurt people, what? Hurt people, what? So we gotta ask ourselves, are we helping to harm, or are we healing the hurt? Well, our babies, we gotta listen to them. Because some of these babies out there with guns, they're feeling like there's nobody to listen to them. The 4-letter word for love when it comes to children is time. T-I-M-E, time. We have to sit down with our babies. We gotta wrap our arms around them. They're looking for connection from us. I have a book called Courageous Conversations Connect. Why? Because we've got to start having those courageous conversations in school with the doctors, with the officers, with the pastors, with the imams. We are our future. Our children are our future, but they need to know that we care. So a few more stats here. 1 in every 8 women are impacted by domestic violence. Depression occurs most frequently in ages 25 to 44. Men account for 75% of suicides by gun violence. 75%. That is an unacceptable statistic. That's unacceptable. When people decide that they'd rather kill themselves themselves, then be here. We need coping strategies. We need groups. We need more therapy. We need more resources. Somebody said that we were in a pandemic and that impacted our social, our psychological state of mind. So we need these spaces. And why? Because our children are killing themselves and killing each other. So as I bring this to an end, we're talking about bringing awareness and putting the Jawns down. I want y'all to say that. Put the Jawns down. Put the Jawns down. Put the Jawns down. All hands on deck. Thank you so much.
So we do appreciate you hanging in with us. Just to let you know, we have 2 more phenomenal speakers, and then we do just have some fellowship for the community. So at this time, we are going to call the Social Action NPHC. It is our Southeastern chapter. At this time, I am going to call him forward.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I come representing NPHC Southeastern PA Social Action Chair. As well, I'm a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated by New Sigma Chapter. I'm also representing, I'm a West Philadelphia native who I graduated from Lamberton High School. Okay? And I also represent, I am an employee of Dunbar Community Counseling Services. I do work in mental health, and I do address with these kids and their issues. And I have so many people who are impacted by this gun violence. It affects my family, and it affects everybody's family. I am so happy, and I thank Quaker City Deltas that we have partnered with them to address this initiative, as well as with Taylor Made Ministries. We worked with them before. We will continue to work with both to address this gun violence issue, because it's all hands on deck. All of us, not just any officials, not just anybody, but all of us. If you are a human being, let me say that again. If you are a human being that has to see this on the news every single day, that you have to see it on the streets, that you have to see your loved ones, I'm telling you right now, I have a cousin that died of this. I have so many friends that died of this. This is a nightmare. It's hard to walk on the street safely. And I'm here, as well as my fraternity, as well as NPHC Southeastern PA, as well as partnered with everybody, every one of you, as well as Taylor Made Ministries, as well as Quaker City Deltas. We will work hard to address situations and provide solutions. Not just address it, but solutions. We need steps. That's what this forum later on is about. Steps. We need to cut all this down so we can walk safely, privately, putting those joints down. When I work in mental health, and I work with these kids, see the gun, when the gun is on the table, when the gun is there and the bullet is there, it doesn't cause no harm. It's the hand that picks it up. But even worse, it's the mindset before it. It's the trigger that calls the person angry that goes ahead and pulls the trigger. That's the issue. Where are we dealing with their mindset? It's always about giving our sons, our daughters hugs, saying it's okay. They need to talk to us so we know what they're doing. We love them. We cherish them. We fight for them. Like Officer said previously, it's a fight. It's a fight. So we all got to be all hands on deck, because we love our people, we love our children, and it's all about taking care of them. It's our responsibility. Once again, I say thank you. We will continue to work with everyone to address this situation. Like I said, put damn Jawns down.
Thank you. That was amazing. So the next person that is stepping forward is someone that is near and dear and special to not only one standing up here, but she is very near and dear to this community. We've had leaders come forward. We have faith representatives. We've had individuals from the police and or sheriff department. We have the funeral directors that are here. But one of the things that we don't think about is once in fact we lose someone from gun violence, how do we continue after? When you lose someone from gun violence, the individuals that are left here, how do they continue? How do they have the strength each day to get up, to put put their feet on the ground and to come out their door. So at this time, I'm going to be calling a very special woman forward. Her name is Michelle Parker. Michelle Parker lost her son 2 blocks here from Overbrook High School. There was a shooting and a 3-year-old child was at risk of being shot. And her son jumped in front of that 3-year-old little boy. And in that, her son unfortunately is no longer here with us. So this lady is a true inspiration to our community because she gets up every day. She puts her feet on the ground and she pushes. She is going to be coming forward to also speak light into the community, but also encourage that we as a community have to continue together to not only support people like her, but other people, and to also know that we have to continue to fight together to continue to move forward and to live for the individuals that we leave. So at this time, I'm going to ask that Michelle Parker can come forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you today because God gives me the strength every single day of my life. And without Him, I would be nothing. I stand before you today, not just as a resident of this community, but as a grieving mother. One who never thought that I would ever have to stand here today, because I shouldn't be here today. None of us should have to be here today. But we do realize that gun violence is pervasive, gun violence is crippling, and is incredibly debilitating. I stand before you today not as Michelle Parker, but I am the mother of the 259th victim of gun violence in the year of 2021. And my son is not just a number, but his name was Evan Marquise Baylor. I want that to sit with you for a minute. Many times we think that the number that we hear, there's not a family attached to it. He's not 259, he's my son. I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to you may not be able to put yourself in my shoes, but I want you to close your eyes and just think about what I'm going to say. Imagine you having dreams for your child. Imagine carrying someone for 9 months in your womb to give birth to them. Imagine seeing the greatness within them as they grow as a young, precocious child. Imagine them being a scholar athlete. Imagine them being a junior deacon. Imagine them being captain of the football team at Mastery Shoemaker. Imagine them being prom king junior and senior year in high school. Imagine them being, it's almost unreal hearing myself saying that, imagine. Because I would imagine he would be standing with me today, but he's not. Many times we try to put a face to gun violence and we look at what we see in the media. And many times there are things that we see, like, it's kind of hard to put it into words. But I am one of the faces of gun violence. I put 4 children through college as a single mother. None of them were involved in any kind of illegal activity. My son went to Penn State Altoona. In fact, my brother G. Lamar Stewart, if we really want to get real with it, my son served as the worship leader at Bright Hope Baptist Church at the age of 12 when my brother G. Lamar Stewart came and was the speaker at their youth explosion. So how did I get here? How do I stand here and explain to you the devastation, the pain, the suicidal ideation, the anger, the frustration that I feel every single day? It is nothing but the grace of God that I could stand. Many times I put a smile on my face, but many people like me wear a mask. And if you're familiar with a mask that you put on, it's to shield. Many times I have to shield my true emotions because although I lost my son almost 2 years ago, people think that I'm supposed to be okay. You're so strong. It's nothing but God's strength, because many days I feel weak. Many days I feel tired. But instead of wallowing in my pain, as many people, and I don't even want to say wallow is the right word, but for those people who can't speak, I am their voice box. I am a mother who has been and marched in Harrisburg, and I don't stay silent as it comes to gun violence. I'm very, very unapologetic. And I want you all to realize that every single family that is affected by gun violence, it's not just the person that may live in their home that is affected, but all of us are affected. It could be your son, your daughter, your sister, your brother, your niece, your nephew, your mother, your father, your grandfather, your cousin, or your friend. You don't have to know someone directly to be affected. Turn on the news, go to work, live your life. We are completely affected by gun violence. My son was selling his car in front of my home to a childhood friend. There were some guys in the neighborhood, I live on 55th Street, right down the street, that decided to follow the person purchasing the car to my home, shot that person execution style, then turned the gun on that person's 3-year-old child. My son jumped in front of the baby to shield the baby and lost his life. He did not deserve it. He did not deserve it. But I would be doing him a disservice if I didn't live and make sure that the legacy that he left did not go forward. It is incredibly hard, but I keep getting up every single day because God did not take me out of here. And as long as God gives me breath in my body, I will continue to fight. I thank God that I was not there the day that he got killed. I was on the Ben Franklin Bridge, headed to a wedding that I was working at. My neighbors called. They didn't even realize my son had been shot because the week before, my son catered food and fed everybody on the single block, because that's the kind of child that he was. And I say was, but for me it is. I want you all to realize that I'm just one family of many that carry this pain day in and day out. And for those who don't even have the strength to stand here to tell you their story, I tell you their story. I may not be able to explain what happened to them, but we all have a common bond, unfortunately, that ties us together because we lost a loved one. And I really implore each and every one of you today, if you know something, say something. There is no arrest in my son's murder. So day in and day out, I could be walking past my son's murderer and not even know it. I want you all to really understand just how devastating this can be for you. And I don't want any of you to have to go through this. Thank you.
At this time, we are going to be having a selection. We are going to be calling forth Mrs. Jada Dell at this time.
Good evening, everybody. I would first like to thank the Quaker City Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta for having me and giving me the opportunity to lend my voice to such a worthy cause. I know we have all been touched some way, shape, or form by gun violence. I know I have. So I'm going to be singing today A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke, because we need a change immediately, expeditiously. So I'm going to be doing it a cappella. I'm going to do a little bit. I was born by the river in a little And oh, just like the river, y'all, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, oh, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. Oh, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. It's gotta come. It's gonna come. Yes, it will. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to invite Overbrook High School back up at this time. There are also some staff members that are present from Overbrook High School. We are asking that you're stepping forward at this time.
Thank you, Amina. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Slauson, Coach D, Ms. Poland, Ms. Davenport, Ms. Pearson, Ms. Carla Magno, Ms. Turner. I think that's all I see. If I'm missing Ms. Myra. And the reason why I asked Amina to take the microphone back is because oftentimes, if you all can come up, the way that I learned that I lost a student is I'll get what is called the white paper. And the white paper is just sent to my email. And it comes from the school district, from the safety office. And it lists the child's name, the child's condition, address, the grade, the age. And sometimes I don't always put a name with the face. So then I'll start texting. And I'll text Mr. Slauson, or I'll text Coach D, because they're my climate managers, and they meet and greet our students every single morning. They say, good morning, how you doing? They know if it's something different about them. They know every single child. And I'll say, yo, who's this kid? I can't put a name with a face. And then they'll say, Doc, you know, this is such and such, such and such. And then I say, okay. And because they live in a community, then they'll start calling their people. And then I get a lot of information, whether or not they're in a hospital, what hospital they're in. And then just no matter what time it is, just that quick, we're putting our clothes on and we're trying to get to the hospital. And then I'll start calling Ms. Davenport, who's my counselor, or Ms. Poland, who was my counselor, who's now the AP over at Gompers, or Ms. Carla Magno, who's my clinical social worker. And we'll start planning for the next day because we don't know how our kids are going to show up. And so, to Mama Michelle's point, the rippling effect, when we lose somebody to gun violence so tragically, again, it's this thing of all hands on deck. And we have to stand strong together. Ms. Turner in the purple pants, that's my secretary. So she's getting all the calls when we're in lockdown, when they're trying to figure out how close the gun violence is happening into the community. She's picking up the phones, trying to manage that. Then you have Ms. Pearson, who's been at Overbrook for 23 years. And she knows the families and she knows the connect. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, who can I call to help me? So when I say I don't do this work by myself, I don't do this work by myself. It is so easy when I get that email and I get turned around. I'm like, I gotta figure out who's this kid. I gotta get to the mother. I gotta get to the family. And then Ms. Davenport is on the phone praying with the mom because the mom is just hysterical. So I just wanted you all to put a name. And when people talk about what's not in their job description, none of this, what we do, is in our job description. None of this of what they do. Mr. Slauson and Coach D, when them 4 kids got shot at the Poppy store, these 2 gentlemen ran towards the kids, scooped those kids off the ground to get them back into the building, scooped them kids to put them in the police cars. So I just want you all to put a name with a face and give them a round of applause, because there are many of them are like this at a whole bunch of schools in this city. So I just want to publicly thank you all for the hard work that you do and the commitment that you continue to have to our young people in the city of Philadelphia. So thank you. And thank you, Amina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So at this time, we are going to be moving to conclude our rally. One of the things, again, we want to take the time to thank the individuals that did, of course, speak and join us today. Definitely thanking the representation from the Philadelphia Funeral Directors, the National Funeral Directors Association, and Morticians Association as well. At this time, I'm going to give the mic to Kia.
Thank you. Well, first of all, we want to just say thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come out for this very important issue. We know that we are lifting up our community because our community needs us. The population of people who are most impacted by gun violence are Black men and Black boys. 18 to 25 being the top demographic of people impacted by gun violence. So we're going to do one thing. When I put my hand up, I want you to say, put those joints down. But I forgot, I do have to thank our sponsors. I don't want to forget that. All right, first I want to thank the 19th Police District, Captain Newble, thank you for everything that you did for us. Linwood Jones Funeral Home, thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I want to say thank you to the National Panhellenic Council, Southeastern Pennsylvania. All right. Thank you to my day job, which is Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. We are the city's official civil rights agency, and we go out to communities in conflict. So a lot of people don't think about it, but some of the gun violence occurs due to an argument. People don't have the skills necessary to get the problem resolved without going to violence. So if you're struggling with a neighbor or you're struggling with someone else in your community, give us a call, because we will go into the police district with you. We will go knock on your neighbor's door and try to get the issue remedied. So give us a call. Also, G. Lamar Stewart. We gotta give it up for G. Lamar Stewart. Tailor-made opportunities. Without his partnership and leadership in this, we would not be able to have gathered. And also, Own Your Mortality. A significant partner in this programming, and that's Sora Amina's organization, I should say. All right, so Principal Johnson mentioned about a white paper that she gets. In my day job, we also get those white papers because we go out to the communities for when a shooting involves a youth. We go out to the school, make contact to make sure that there's no tension brewing, so that we can try to get things resolved before it escalates more. So one of the disheartening parts about it, though, is that you'll see in black and white, 17-year-old killed at 10:46 a.m. 18-year-old killed at 11:01 a.m. So I'm going to go down the ages, and when I say the ages, I want you to say, put them Jawns down. Okay, so for all the young men and women over 21 that have lost their lives to senseless gun violence, we say, put them Jawns down. For the 20-year-olds out here, we want you to know that you're appreciated and supported. So put them Jawns down. For the 19-year-olds that are out there wearing the black and the mask all over your face, we see you. Take them off and put the Jawns down. For the 18-year-olds, you are out there and you are loved. Put them Jawns down. For our high schoolers, put them Jawns down. For our middle schoolers, put them Jawns down. We are here, we are your community, and we stand with you. Now, Tuesday, we will have a summit, and that summit will feature the police department. That will also feature the Office of Victim Advocate, Philly Ceasefire, School District Safety Office, probably forgetting somebody, but it will be a dynamic presentation, and we ask that you come out. We have some youth performers that'll be out there and some youth influencers. At 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 p.m., Tuesday at the Free Library on 1901 Vine Street. Free event, please come out and support. DJ Hill, thank you so much. All right, one last time, if everybody will stand up, and we're gonna make a pledge. We are here, and we're asking everybody to do what? Put the Jawns down. Thank y'all, have a good night.